Greetings adventurers, this is GM Comfortable Gray, and it's another one of our iconic archetype builds. Today it's going to be the Barbarian Berserker. You see here, this image, I've decided her name is Zuvo Suregrip. She's a powerful and surprisingly dexterous individual despite being from the mountains. So of course, we're going to have this point buy of 15 strength, 14 dexterity, 15 constitution, 8 intelligence, 8 wisdom, and charisma, just for that little bit of social maneuvering. This is not a thinker whatsoever. And that's going to be Goliath. Goliaths have a 35-foot speed. That's a really good place to start. The powerful build option does allow them to have just some extra lifting, little like almost like a ribbon feature there. But the big thing is that coming up is the Goliath ancestry. Most people are taking the Hills Topple, the Hill Goliath ancestry, and that's going to give them the ability to knock opponents prone. You'll see we have it baked right in. We don't need to do that. We're going to have a saving throw free way of knocking people prone, assuming they can get knocked up. And at level 3, you're going to be able to take on the large form. We'll just give you more people, more targets, more monsters that you can wrestle, grapple, and throw around. Next up is the background. Background was a little bit of a challenge for this character. Of course, we're going to go custom background, but the feat options, I feel like you can go criminal or guard for alert, but their ability score improvements don't really match with the strength and constitution you want. You can get constitution from criminal, you can get strength from guard, so it's not perfect. For farmer and soldier, those are really what you want to go for. I say go farmer because tough gives you that extra hit points, and you are the barbarian, you have the most hit points in the first place, strength and constitution. For soldier, you could choose strength, dexterity, or constitution. We get the Savage Attacker feat. I think in general, people are saying Savage Attacker, not really that worthwhile. At tier 1, beginning of play, it does give you, when you're using a great axe like this character will, a pretty good option to increase your damage, but I really find that in play, it just slows things down. Not suggesting you take Savage Attacker, because it's not a table-friendly ability, just keeping track of that little thing. But for custom background, we're going to increase strength, we're going to increase constitution, and we're going to take lucky. Alternatively, you could take Savage Attacker, you could take tough, you could take magic initiate through the guide, because there is a certain build for the barbarian where you use shillelagh and use the offhand club, or you just use a more powerful quarterstaff. That's pretty cool, but because rage requires a bonus action, I'm not leaning towards shillelagh. It's an entirely different build, but it's in there. I have the seed planted. And then after our background, we have our actual core barbarian traits. Your primary ability is strength, of course. You have the largest hit die, the D12 per barbarian level. You get saving throw proficiencies in strength and constitution. Strength can actually come up a fairly frequent amount of times, and constitution is one of the big 3. And especially as a frontliner, it's probably going to affect constitution pretty frequently. For skill proficiencies, you should take athletics. It just goes into this character. I definitely say that Zuvo is an athletic person. She can swim, she can run, she can jump, she can climb. And perception, one of the best skills in the game, super useful to keep you informed on what the game master wants you to see. You are proficient in simple and martial weapons. That's all weapons. For armor, you get light, medium, and shields. The shield is a give or take kind of thing, because if you want to be protected, grab a shield, use a one-handed weapon. But if you're doing damage, which this art is the great axe character, you're not going to use a shield very often. We can just take the starter equipment, but generally you're better off customizing it a little bit if you have the time. But if you're just doing a quick pickup game, take the great axe, the hand axes, the explorer's pack, and a little bit of gold just for spending monies. And then level 1 in Barbarian, that gives you your rage. You only have medium armor options. You're going to get that bonus to damage, that resistance, the bonus action to activate, and then for unarmored defense, this doesn't look like an armored character to me. That's kind of why I built these ability scores in this direction. So she'll have a decent ability, a decent armor class no matter what. And there's also, we're going to compare this survivability and damage per round way later on after the archetype builds. I'm going to do some more math crunching. So that's level 1, pretty straightforward. Weapon mastery. I feel like great axe is the obvious choice. Cleave is going to drastically increase the damage you do, and despite what they're suggesting here, I actually think go for the light hammer. Shout out to Sneeze, one of my patrons and my premium players, because light hammer is really good. Having that nick weapon property allows you to do extra attacks here and there. It's a pretty cool feature. And again, like if you were doing the light hammer and the shillelagh build, that ties in again. All right, on to level 2. Danger Sense improves your dexterity saving throws, and because you have a decent dexterity, you actually are going to pass a number of them. Reckless Attack, bread and butter feature. You have enough hit points, you can afford to get hit somewhat frequently. Don't be actually reckless, be intelligent about it. But you can do reckless attacks without having to be raged as well, so it is an evergreen feature. Level 3, your Barbarian subclass, and you also get Primal Knowledge. I feel like you're going to want to get Animal Handling, Intimidation, Nature, anything maybe that you didn't get from your background. For the custom background, I probably would have gotten the Intimidation and the Insight to help yourself stay in there, but there's skills are lovely, but they're not really game breaking. So level 3, the Berserker Frenzy feature. While you use your reckless attack, you can deal extra damage to the first target you hit with a strength-based attack. So that's one thing with the shillelagh. You could use wisdom, but you can also use strength and just get extra damage. The extra damage is d6 is equal to your rage damage bonus added together, and that's just free reckless bonus damage. Wonderful to have. You love to see it on your character, and that's one reason why, without even really trying, you're going to see this is going to be one of the most damaging sustained builds we will see on this iconic archetype journey. So that's the Berserker Frenzy. You also get your Goliath large form feature here, gives you a little bit of range, lets you move a little bit more quickly, and of course there's that pick and heftin, throwing things around and grappling large creatures. You've always been able to grapple here, and grappling has always been good. It's still great. But level 4, we need to make a decision: Great Weapon Master or Crusher. I'm going for Crusher with this build. Generally, I find that Great Weapon Master, Polar Master, those kinds of feats, they can be very restrictive on what you're doing with the character later on, while Crusher, you can always make an unarmed attack that does bludgeoning damage to knock the enemy up, and that's basically it. So, the general comparison is that Treant Monk has done a wonderful video on using Crusher for the home run build. I find what this really showed is there's no benefit on knocking characters more than 10 feet into the air. That's when they take the d6 damage. That's when they get knocked prone. That's why you don't need the quarterstaff for topple. That's why you should just be pushing. So at level 4, you could have taken Tavern Brawler as your origin feat, and this is the only reason I really would do it, unless you were doing some other kind of interesting build. But that would let you, just with a kick, a headbutt, a shoulder bash, you would knock them 10 feet into the air, knock them prone as your unarmed attack. You still only have one attack per round, however, so watch out for that. You don't need to focus on incredible knockback, just a little bit that will help knock them down, and that gives you access to more opportunity attacks. For that as well, the Great Weapon Master really only uses heavy weapons. That's the limitation. You could do Polar Master. That's a later thing to help this work better, because it allows you to use a bludgeoning strike with a number of the heavy and reach weapons. But like the pike is the only martial weapon at all that has the push weapon mastery, so that's what you're going for. It does slightly less damage than the Great Axe does. So it's a weird sort of balance here. You actually would need to crunch the numbers, which I'm not doing yet, but I will do in a future video, to see which one is the best option. I'm just saying, for this character, we're going Crusher. That's a fun knocking thing, but I'm also going to discuss how there is a little of a space where they don't talk about when falling takes place. So I'm using the rules for knocking a flying target prone, which turns their speed to 0, and they fall down instantaneously. Even if their speed turns to 0 and it's not on their turn, they still fall. That's kind of how I feel like it's supposed to work. At the end of the action, that's when they fall. According to Sage Advice, 500 feet per round. That's without all the acceleration. We don't need to use physics into this. It's just a game. But you're never going to knock somebody nearly that far. So all you really need to think about is that initial fall. That means that you can't use a second extra attack once you hit level 5 to knock them further into the air by my interpretation. Please let me know if I'm wrong about this, but I think that's how it's supposed to work. This keeps the paperwork tidy at the gaming table. So level 5, an extra attack means an extra chance to knock enemies around, and maybe this character will be best served by having a flowchart at these different levels. Are you trying to do damage? Are you trying to control the battlefield? What's the enemy's size? What are their resistances, their condition immunities, and what weapons do you have available? Things to consider when you're going to optimize this character's turn by turn. At level 6, you get the subclass feature Mindless Fury. That's one reason why we are kind of dumping intelligence, dumping wisdom. This is your character just saying no to both charmed and frightened effects. That actually covers a lot of the different enchantment spells. You're just simply immune to them when you're raging. Fairly powerful. You could pair this with Mage Slayer to protect some additional mental saving throws, but you've got Constitution, your strength is already incredible, and so the occasional dexterity, usually it's just going to be doing damage to you. You got the high hit points, so that's why Mindless Fury really lets you stay in there. Level 7, Feral Instinct, advantage on initiative. So proficiency bonus to initiative. That's good. Maybe at the very beginning, when we're talking about criminal, I was talking about guard, you want to take alert as your origin feat, and this would really feed into that. Your character gets to decide who goes first every combat, and that could be game breaking on its own. Just, it's a different type of control. It's a battlefield awareness. Instinctive Pounce lets you get in there a little bit faster. Level 8, ability score improvement. If I was going for the full home run build, this is where I start getting Crusher, this is where I start getting Charger, this is where I'd get the other little things to help me do additional damage. But of the feats I think you're going to want for this character, there's a pretty small list. You need Great Weapon Master, Crusher, and those are the big ones for that sustained damage and that little knock effect. Charger will let you do the knockback with Crusher a little more easily with more weapons. Mage Slayer does give you a great thing against spellcasters maintaining concentration and to protect your own saves. Medium Armor Master is an option if you want to lean really into the medium armor mastery, because that +1 dexterity, like armor class, it kind of peaks around 22 if you're using a shield, and that's one of the cool things about the bounded accuracy of D&D 5e is that you could have lower level characters and they can still affect a higher level character. So the +1 here and there for armor class really stacks. It protects you against most everything except for high level characters. Mounted Combatant is going to depend on your table, because mounts is a really cool aspect of the game. I find that's often underutilized, and you could actually pair maybe when the Centaur species comes out for 5.24, or just, as they say, it's supposed to be backwards compatible. You can have a Centaur ally. They're the rogue, you're the barbarian, you protect them with your big muscular body, and they get sneak attacks every round. There's a lot of fun stuff for Mounted Combatant. If you aren't going mounted, get speedy. Just give yourself that bonus to your mobility, because you do have better speed as a Goliath and a Barbarian, especially in your large form. And we're only on to level 8 now. Level 9. This is a build defining level because you get Brutal Strike for that Forceful Blow. Forceful Blow allows you to use any bludgeoning weapon, and that's going to launch the enemy at the requisite height to deal them damage and knock them prone. Beautiful, lovely, wonderful. I don't know why you'd use the other Brutal Strikes for any reason. Bonus damage is nice, and then onto number 10, this is Retaliation. This was a great buff to the Berserker in 5.24e. It's going to just be another attack every time your allies are struck. Straightforward, does use your reaction, but it's another attack. We should throw that into the calculator to see how dangerous the character is. Level 11 is Relentless Rage. That's going to make you have more hit points than you appear to have. I think it's a wonderful too angry to die kind of feeling. Cool character build. And you can even go right around that. 12, ability score improvement. If you want, I think this character is really focused on getting a few of the feats, and then increased strength, increased constitution, those need to be at 20 before you hit level 19. Level 13, improved Brutal Strike. Of these new options, Staggering Blow is probably the best one, because giving disadvantage on saving throws is massive. This allows you to grab them better. This allows your enemies to cast spells a little better. Staggering Blow is your go-to, unless you just want to do straight up damage. Then Sundering Blow, pretty good, but honestly nothing else affects saving throws like that. Either one is still situational. 14, this is your next subclass feature, just an area effect fear. It's not a crazy wild power. I do feel like it's Not as cool as Retaliation was, but I'm also glad that Retaliation is coming earlier, so no complaints. Level 15, Persistent Range. You did have to maintain your bonus actions or charge or attack or perform saving throws on enemies before, but now you don't need to. It's just a little bit easier. Level 16, your last official ability score improvement, round that out. And so because you've got those ones, it should be possible if you take at least one straight +1/+1 and not a half feat to get everything you need on these characters. Level 17, your Brutal Strike, it's just free damage. Can't be mad about it. 18, Indomitable Might. Your character has a reliable strength score, and because you can use one of the earlier features to use your strength score on some different effects, Indomitable Might does give your character a lot of out-of-combat versatility. Level 19, combat prowess is what I would think to help you hit, but irresistible offense also makes a lot of sense. If you're facing enemies that have the resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, go for irresistible offense. It's probably the better of the two, but I think it's really nice to hit people because this character is not all about doing damage necessarily. You want to control the battlefield. And then finally, level 20, Primal Champion. Your character, with no magic items, has the highest ability scores in the game. You're the only one who's going to be hitting 24s on your primary ability score, and that feels really good. We've got so many rages per day. I didn't even talk about the extra weapon masteries because you already have what you need. You got your Great Axe for Cleave, and you've got your Light Hammer for Nick. Sometime during there, if you took Polar Master, you would have taken, of course, the Pike for the push, maybe the Great Club for the push, and that's enough to keep this character going. I like them. I look forward to seeing them go through there. Please let me know if you have any questions, any comments, ways I can improve these types of videos, but it's a learning process for me, and I'm just also running Dragonlance, I'm running D&D, I'm running Pathfinder, I'm running lots of different systems. So if you want to play TTRPGs, I would love if you would join me on the Discord, on the Patreon, and start playing. Happy gaming to you.